Garcia.
I am.
We're EVTV.
We are.
What do you got for us today, Gabe?
Well, I have actually, we haven't done very much sommelier stuff recently.
No, we haven't.
And I have a couple of empty glasses here.
Empty glasses? Do we have anything to put in it?
I also have an antique opener and capper from Germany. It's made by Hermetius, and this is kind of cool. And I'll show you how it works. But there was a scare.
You know what kind of glasses these are, don't you?
I do, but there was kind of a scare in the beverage world in the last couple of weeks. There was rumors that Mexican Coke was going to change the formula.
Uh-oh. New Coke?
They were going to say, don't worry, Coke connoisseurs, Mexican Coke won't be losing its acclaimed sugar anytime. It was quite the stir in the beverage industry.
Huh. What's New Coke in Mexican?
Coco Nuevo.
Coco Nuevo. No good.
No good.
Coco Nuevo. No good.
And what's funny about this is made by a company.
Coco Classico.
Coco Classico. What's funny is this is made for the American market.
Uh-huh.
And in Mexico, but they really don't sell it in Mexico. It's a company that makes it for our palates. But I'm going to use my antique German opener.
Uh-huh. On your Mexican Coke.
On my Mexican Coke. This thing actually also does champagne bottles because they use Crown Seal. You literally told 2 days later you can leave a bottle of sparkling wine in the refrigerator.
Really?
Yeah. This is.
Oh, it's got a little rubber pad.
And it just slips on there.
Oh my goodness.
And this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. I got it. Somebody in Croatia had it, and I bought it on eBay for $6.
Oh, get a bunch of those. We'll put them in the store.
Okay, we'll put them in the store. So there you go. So anybody out there in beverage land, any of you sommeliers, connoisseurs, let me be the first to tell you that a decent rum and Coke with real sugar cane Coke can still be had. Have a Coke and a smile.
Things go better with Coke.
They do. So there now, my fears are assuaged. I'm fine.
All the American Cokes use cheaper sweetener called high fructose corn syrup. It's alleged to be a food product.
It is a food, but it's like cheese pasteurized.
And apparently bad for you for some reason. It's I can tell you can make whiskey out of high fructose corn syrup, sugar cane, molasses.
Oh yeah.
Or any of it.
Anything you can ferment.
The yeasties can't tell.
They can't tell the difference.
And neither can I. But I do like the taste of the Mexican Coke.
It's funny,
Which I now, you're telling me, is only available in the U.S. Is this like American Chinese food?
Yeah, let me tell you this. It's
I went to Puerto Vallarta. They had no burritos. It's all seafood and a few hamburgers. There's no Mexican food there.
Yeah, this is for the U.S. market. The Mexican market, for the most part, gets this. Does not get this. They get the high fructose corn syrup as well.
Good year.
It was actually, the vintage was wonderful. Yeah. And Sam's Club has it.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, Sam's Club has this. Pretty cool. All right. So there, I sommeliered. I know you guys ask for it every now and then. Didn't quite do the beverage you were thinking, but hey, I'm beverage agnostic.
This is actually a specially designed glass by Riedel for the Scotch industry. They wanted their own tasting glass for whiskey, and after much study, this is what they came up with.
That's right, and it's great for a straight Coke as well.
Riedel Scotch glass also works for Mexican Coca-Cola.
Mexican Coca-Cola.
Coco Classico.
Coco Classico, that's right. Pretty good.
Coco Nuevo. No good.
No mas, man.
No mas.
No
Coco
mas.
Nuevo.
Oh, so what happened to Tesla this week? And what do you say? And therein lies the tail.
Therein lies the tail. Did the investment genius get his head handed to him on a plank?
We don't have the samurai sword. Remember that episode?
Did I say calls? I meant puts. You know how I reverse things.
Yeah, that's right.
Tesla turned in a what I think is a fabulous quarterly report. This is just nonsense. They beat by a penny on earnings, if that matters, 12 cents.
Right.
More importantly, they beat on revenues at $605 million instead of the expected 535. I thought that was good. They had predicted 5,000 cars. They sold 5,000. And the most important part was they made significant progress in the margin per car.
They did.
Which they want to be at 25%. They got it up to 21%. And apparently, the cars are going highly optioned. There is no $65,000 Model S.
I couldn't imagine. No.
Everybody's getting it loaded. And so that margin is looking very good. They have broken into sales in Europe.
Yes.
They're starting to take sales in China. They won't deliver until February or perhaps March.
Okay.
All in all, I thought it was an outstandingly good quarterly report. It was not flowered up any. They were being intentionally very conservative and very almost stoic to avoid, probably with the run-up in their stock, to avoid any appearance of stock pumping.
You sure? Right.
And so they were quite staid in their presentation, and it was a good report. The stock was probably $175 or $176 at the close on Tuesday, and by this morning it was down to $135.
Oh, man.
I was cremated on the December 225 calls. Fortunately, I took a good friend of mine, John Scribner, with me.
Oh, there you go. It's always good to have company. Yeah.
We have a little time.
Yes,
there's still
some time.
40-something days, but man, did they take it on the chin.
Really.
A very volatile stock, which is so volatile, had I only known, had I only thought, I could have split it between puts and calls, gotten entirely wiped out on one, and made it up 5 times on the other.
Yeah.
Just on the degree of the movement. But I failed rather badly so far. We'll see how that comes out. A lot of the value analysts have been smoking this stock on TV, but it doesn't really explain it. The pros weren't investing in it anyway. And it's still... Daimler and Toyota own big chunks of it.
Right.
Some institutional on the May secondary offering. It's really a pretty stably held stock, and I think a lot of them are very happy with it. Recall Toyota had invested $50 million in about 10% of the stock. Daimler had done the same earlier at like $17. These guys are sitting on a $500 million in Tesla stock at Toyota and $750 million at Daimler now, to the point that Daimler's feeling guilty about it, and the head of Daimler has assigned a team to look into ways that they can use Tesla's technology more.
Right, use it more, yes.
Simply because it winds up being a big portion of their net worth right now. It's Tesla. So I think this is all kind of goofy thinking and goofy things happening.
Sure.
For the long term, this is an incredible winner. And but in the meantime, it's going to be a stomach churner. And I kind of put down a short-term bet and got my head handed to me. Third fire this week. Again, that's, if you do the math here, There's 150,000 vehicle fires in the U.S. each year. Let's see if I've got a calculator that'll work this out. There's 250 million cars. That is 0.0006.
Okay.
Or 0.00 or 0.06%. The Tesla with 3, I'd say 16,000 cars out there,
Okay.
conservatively, is 0.001875.
Yeah.
At 3 out of 16,000, it's less than a third
Right.
of the national rate.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly.
3 of them burn up. And they were probably battery fires. I can say that all along I've said that I don't like the batteries they're using. They apparently differ because they just entered into a thing with Panasonic
last week
for another 2 billion of them.
Yes.
So I'd say they like them pretty well. I don't think they're as safe as the LiFePO 4 cells. And I think they're kind of twitchy. But they like them just fine. And in fact, that seems to be the, Musk continues to portray this as not precisely demand constrained as it is production constrained.
Right.
And at this point, they're having troubles with the batteries. I don't know if they're having troubles assembling 550 packs a week,
That's a lot,
which is
yeah.
non-trivial,
Yes.
or if they're actually having problems getting the cells physically
Just supply. Yeah. Wow.
in and getting them out of the boxes.
Yes, that's right.
But it's a lot of cells. There's over 7,000 cells per car. And so this is a thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Whether it's demand and they're potentially going to have even more demand for the cars.
See, it's one thing for John Wayne to load the revolver with 6 magic bullets. 6,000 is another thing.
That's another thing. That's right. Especially when you're getting shot at.
Sure. But that's where Tesla's at right now. The future's extremely bright. They have an assembly facility in the Netherlands. They're going after Europe very aggressively.
Yes.
And I think China is going to be surprisingly productive for them. Did you see why?
I did. I was kind of surprised at all that was going on in Beijing.
China is, after all, the land of apparently the totally obscured sun.
Yeah, that's right. Don't breathe the
And
air.
I'm
on.
told that on some days, 20 or 30,000 people show up at hospital
Oh, man.
over the air there.
That's amazing.
Beijing has just announced. Now, we covered 2 years ago that they were going to limit the number of new car registrations in Beijing to 600,000 a year, which was half of what they were selling. And you had to join a lottery.
Exactly.
to get it.
Yep, exactly.
Over the next 4 years, Beijing will issue 150,000 new license plates per year.
Oh, my goodness.
600,000 total over 4 years at all.
That's an amazing cutback. Wow.
More,
Wow.
they're going to reserve some of them, 20,000 of the 150,000 next year must be reserved for alternate energy vehicles, electric vehicles.
Okay.
Tesla Model S is already homologated in China.
Oh, it is. Okay. Wow.
That's going to rise to 60,000 in 2017. 2017, 40% of the new cars registered in Beijing must be electric.
Phew, man, that's an impressive mandate.
And
Yes.
so I would say it's a desperate mandate.
Yes.
They're choking on their own air. And they don't have a problem in Congress getting together on what to do about it.
Is there an aisle?
I don't know what goes on in that back room, but whatever comes out, it was unanimous.
That's right. It was unanimous.
And so a little different political situation there. But it's not, we don't have near that degree of air pollution. But it's fascinating to watch a city on the verge of health collapse
Exactly.
over
Yes.
the air
Yeah.
struggle with this. They have not done well at getting the adoption of electric cars, so apparently they're just going to require
Just gonna let's make it so by fiat.
let it be inscribed on all temple walls, clay tablets, and obelisks throughout the realm.
Don't forget the clay tablets.
So it is written, and so it shall
So it
be.
shall be.
And I think that will accrue to Tesla, but I think you'll find BMW and VW and everybody
Yep.
jumping
Throwing in,
there,
giving a little bit.
Get a little piece of the Beijing atmosphere
Yes.
going on with that thing. What else you got?
Well, talking about Tesla and sales, it is pretty funny because remember that they were having a problem in Texas with the dealer network and Tesla being a factory.
All their exes
All
live in Texas?
Yep. That's why I live in Missouri.
You betcha.
Some state around here anyway, huh? So California has had this for a while where they paid an additional $2,500 on top of the $7,500 federal credit that you get, the rebate that you get for buying an
Round her up
alternate.
to 10 grand.
Round her up to 10 grand, exactly. And California's been pretty good about that. I don't remember if they're still doing a 2,500, but Texas has enacted it and is moving on it, and they're going to be able to claim those $2,500 rebates soon. There is one vehicle that you cannot claim, pure electric vehicle, that you cannot get the rebate, the $2,500 on.
What would that be?
That would be a Tesla.
Why is that?
Well, because Tesla does not sell through dealerships, and the Texas dealers and legislature has been kind of after Tesla to come to the bar and play, and I guess they're going to try to slap them on the hand with no rebate.
Isn't that something?
Isn't that?
So if you have an electric car and you get the rebate,
Yes.
does that mean you can be in the full contact battle lane from Arlington to Dallas?
That's right. You can't with pieces of your car flopping on the wind.
The largest market for new cars in the United States is Dallas-Fort Worth.
Oh, man. I could imagine.
And that's because in Dallas-Fort Worth, a new car driving on the freeway is considered a full contact sport.
Don't have body shops.
You get up on this parking freeway, and if you look at the cars around you, they're like 1 or 2 years old, and they all have chrome trim on the sides. They're sort of dangling down the side of the car.
Mirrors or have rear mirrors
You're like,
hanging
I wonder
off.
what happened to that car. And then you look over at another one and you see the matching piece and mirrors hanging. And,
Trading paint, as they say in NASCAR.
And pretty soon you're like, I got the football thing, but I didn't know it extended to automobiles. That's why they're the largest market for new cars.
Just replace
in
them.
the country. 800,000 a year.
Oh, my goodness.
That's more than you can license in
In
Beijing.
Beijing, that's right.
Dallas, Fort Worth. It's you gotta love it.
That's crazy. Let's see. I just have one last item. So we talk about the i3 a lot. We think it's going to be a nice car.
I do.
They've been taking orders in Europe, not including the orders that they expect to start taking in the U.S. They have a 5-month wait time right now for the car. They're saying it's not that much different than a spec'd out BMW, but there is going to be some little wait for the vehicle, but I think they're not up to production yet. I think they're not up to full production, but people are at least advancing, like in the i3.
Now, instead of announcing 150,000 a year like Nissan, selling 10. They announced 10, and then they have to up that to 30.
They're good, yes.
And
I like that.
Yeah, I think BMW is. I was terribly impressed with Volkswagen last week with their battery video.
That was really cool. Yeah.
I think, but the trick is that I think Tesla this year has tripped the trigger, and now the other automakers, Cadillac and BMW and Volkswagen. Now, Mitsubishi's announced this week that 20% of their mix is going to be electric.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
Far beyond the I and the EV.
Uh-huh.
And so it's kind of a winning thing. I have had some contact from our viewers concerned about our future.
Oh, yes, thank you.
And yes, sincerely,
Thank you.
it's
Thank you.
great that you're concerned, but see, apparently we know something you don't. I think it's great that you can buy an electric car. I did. I bought a Model S this year. Many of our viewers have Leafs and Volts and so forth as well. I think Jess Southern has talked his wife out of the Model S, and they're leaning toward the i3 now.
Oh, okay.
And so
Okay.
it's happening. It's
Yeah.
happening right now. In many ways, you guys have caused it, and it's hard to get a picture of this, but the big element of it is the acculturation to the idea and the concepts. 2 years ago, everyone was like, I couldn't possibly drive an electric car because it's the range anxiety, or it won't go far.
Yeah, right. How long does it take to charge?
90% of us, you'd never. If they didn't tell you what the range was, you'd never find out. Because you drive 20 miles a day.
Yeah.
And so it's come a huge ways, but a lot of it has been hundreds, literally thousands of our people out there showing their custom cars.
Right.
And explaining the whole thing. And each time you do it, that affects a certain number of the people you come in contact with, and it's like ripples in a pond. We're all kind of connected in a much closer coupling than most people are aware of. I've been aware of it, but you're not. But it's real. And so you've had quite an effect. And that said, I think it's Summit Racing that has 24 loading bays with trucks lined up every day.
Oh, man.
To do their $100 million a year in custom parts for cars that have been readily available for 120 years.
Right, exactly.
And so, yeah, the problem is if you buy the store-bought car, you get to drive their car their way, and to the battery
Sure.
limitations and so on and so forth, and increasingly they're proprietary. If you do your own bespoke car,
Exactly.
what we in the U.S. refer to as a custom car, which is a very popular pastime, it works exactly the way you told the mother.
That's right.
And it'll do that right up till when it breaks, and you know exactly what broke.
That's right. You can fix it.
And so a very rich diversity of show cars and so forth. It's been a tradition for way before my time.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. As long as the vehicles have been available, people have
And
been toying with them.
we intend to enable that custom car configuration, and it will become 10 times as big as the little band that we started with, setting out to change the world.
Right.
And so celebrate your success. We're going to celebrate it with you, and I'm pretty excited about it.
It is very exciting. Very exciting.
So, in fact, we've got some things planned for you with the custom car registry and book publication and so on and so forth that I'm just about to wet myself over. Speaking of wet, Anna Kluppenberger.
Yes.
Or Knoppenberg, and So you've got this guy, Nate Knoppenberg.
Nate Knoppenberger and Anna Kluppenberger.
And,
Kluppenberg. Sorry, Anna.
Then I was told this week that I might have a CDO.
Oh, what's that?
It's like obsessive compulsive disorder, but for those that have to have everything in alphabetical order.
Oh, man.
Anyway, let's all go to Europe and get wet. Anna
Yes.
is starting to paddle about on the ground as some sort of amphibian getting involved in automobiles.
I
Let's
can't
take a
imagine
look.
that.
EVTV. This is New Electric in Amsterdam with the EVTV EU update. This week, I'm happy to report that our New Electric Delta has received a new prop shaft mount for the prop shaft and a reworked prop. Not quite that new prop that I'm hoping for, the 9x17, but our old 8x10 prop is now a shiny and rebalanced, reworked 8x13, they say maybe 8x14 prop. So we've remounted it, and I'll give you some close-up views of that as we speak. So here's a shiny new prop. The new prop mount is made out of RVS, Russell, help me out, stainless steel, there we go. And you can see that the, what we call the lager, is now mounted on the rear side, so you're actually able to take out this bearing and by putting a new one instead of having to take off the whole mounting, which was originally so. Anyways, we're very happy with this new mount setup because the old one was about 40 years old. There was a tiny little crack next to where it was mounted, so you can see that we have an extra little mounting plate up there to cover it all up. It should help out with our vibration issues because the prop is in there really nice and snug now. The rubber lining of that bearing had been completely eaten out in the old one. So that should be good, and we should be going faster than 60 kilometers an hour and drawing more than 72 kilowatts. How much faster and how many kilowatts? Well, we'll have to see in the water. And I would have had us there already, but we had a visitor at the shop this week. Look at her here. I introduced this cute little beetle in a little video I made earlier in the week. Hey, we're here with Jeroen Meinders' Rebel electric beetle. She's definitely a classic convertible beetle. Beautiful colors, restored lovingly, and electric drivetrain. This beetle has a Warp 9 and Soliton combination, so a great little powerhouse. And she's got support and some great wheels, so she can put all that traction to the road, no problem. This beetle has been to our shop before because she had some issues with aging GBS batteries. And we replaced some cells out in the front that had their little balancing modules were DOA and or end of life, I'm not sure. And so we replaced those with new cells that were sent out from Groningen, from Rebel, where she was made, converted. And now, sadly, Jeroen is back because he had some issues with a funky smell coming from the rear battery pack. Believing that at least 2 shells shorted out there. So we're going to take her apart, take a look, take some pictures, and discuss with Jeroen and the original converters what the next step is going to be. So it seems like New Electric, besides making our own electric boats and delivering EVTV components, is turning into a little bit of a electric maintenance shop. Things can and will go wrong, especially with new equipment and maybe subpar production runs from early battery components or motors. Anyways, we're going to go take a look and see what's going on, and we're happy to help out Jeroen. So that's Jeroen Meinders' e-Beetle that was converted by Rebel about 3.5 years ago. I have opened her up a little more so we can see where the work is to be done. and that is to be in both of the battery boxes. Here's the front battery box, and we can see that there are 2 cells that do not have a little green LED indication light saying that the voltage is A-OK, sir, or within the range that has been pre-programmed. Those 2 cells, upon measuring, are actually in negative voltage, so they were at a lower state of charge or had less capacity left than their brothers and sisters, and as Jeroen was powering down the highway, they were pushed into reverse by their stronger brethren. The same issue is here in the rear battery box. I'll climb into the car. I've taken her apart a bit, and I'll have to up the hood again to do the work. But here we have one more cell that is, in fact, negative voltage. So, in total, 3 cells were not as strong as the rest, and negative voltage. So here's the tour of the interior, using the old Expert Pro, and we have the motor set up here in the back. So this is a Soliton and warp setup after 3 years of good use. You can see that the Soliton relies on air cooling alone. This weight of vehicle and the way it's being used, it's sufficient. But, I would definitely advise upgrading her to water cooling. I've just noticed with the Solitons, they become a different beast altogether with the water cooling. And, who wants to have their components living at 55 degrees centigrade all the time? Just can't be good. There's some more little niggling issues with this car. I mean, she's an early conversion, and she's actually being used a lot. But all in all, we have to say this is a very happy owner of a very cool electric Beetle. And I'm glad to do some work on her. We have received 3 new cells that were basically from the same batch as these guys were, and were kept on hand for eventual or future warranty needs, such as now arise. So Rebel has done right by their customer, even though the customer is beyond the warranty period of 2 years that was given on the conversion. The cells are being offered complimentary by Rebel, and I'm doing some billable hours for taking it all apart, putting it back together, testing her, and checking it out next week to make sure that all the connections are good, snug, and tidy, and that the voltage ranges on the cells are as to be expected. Hey, so that's the work that we have to do this week. New Electric is not just building boats and sending out the good EVTV components. We are now opening our doors to electric vehicles in need of maintenance, repair, or upgrade. So that means we're going to keep building. I hope you guys keep building, and I'll definitely check in with you next week. Take a look.
Nice postcard from Amsterdam. Good to see you're doing well, Anna.
Very clear description of the prop and his work on the prop thing. And I've always kind of been a little vague as to what comes out the back end of the boat to make it go. And so I'm getting a clearer picture there. But I was startled at how politically adroit this young man is in fixing somebody else's bill.
Yes.
Without calling him an ass clown. With all this BMS tangled up, these failing cells that he's got to rip out. And how's he going to bottom balance them and put them back in with a BMS that top balances?
The top balances,
and make this guy happy, short of ripping all that out and starting over. You go get him, big guy.
That's right, Anna.
Whatever you think is appropriate, I think so too. Now, the deal was you pay $1,200–$1,600 for the BMS, and it saves your battery system. Why do over and over and over we see guys with the BMS and failing batteries.
I know. Almost every time.
If nothing else,
right.
if that's what it was supposed to do, it hadn't done it. And this is not the only case of this.
Right.
Richard Rodriguez is absolutely mystified in San Diego. First,
Yeah.
he's not a technical guy at all. I think he's a dentist.
Yeah, maybe.
Did a great little
lab,
build of a
yes.
Porsche 914.
Yeah.
And wants to be part of this very convivial club.
Yes.
And the club is full of guys that are double E degrees, engineers, who are telling them you have to have a BMS to save your batteries. And they've all got cars with dicked up batteries and BMSs. He's got 28,000 miles on his. It's never
Right.
been touched by a BMS.
No.
He keeps
then-
plugging it in and driving it to work. Actually, he's got a new RAV4, one of the new Tesla.
That's what he
RAV4s.
said. That's right. He did. I did
And
talk to him.
is driving that.
Yes.
Mostly the 914 has become a pleasure car, but he was beating it to death.
He was.
Going to work
Yeah.
and back. He put 28,000 miles on this car in 2.5 years. And he's never had a cell out of it.
No.
So imagine this guy, and he's like, what do I tell these guys? Richard, some people, you can't tell them anything. It's, you know, I don't,
What do you do?
after you repeat it about 3 times, they want to
That's right. You got to move on.
worship pigs under the moonlight, you know, sacrifice goats and so forth. Well, why? What for? Why stop them? Tell them party like Wayne's World. BMS. Cool. Don't let them put one on your car.
Wait a minute. We do sell batteries on. What do BMSs do?
They save batteries.
Oh, okay. Well, that means the battery sales should go down.
Yeah, well, I think we're going to come up with a EVTV special for Richard's Club.
That's right. So
You're just probably not using the right cells. You need to buy ours. And you need extras.
actually get some spares.
Get some spares while you're buying them. So there you go. No, it's a great thing on his got going on there. I'm excited about the boat, and he's starting to, you know, it's getting out there. I was blogging about this week. 90% of winning in publishing is being the last to go home. And that is, that's a reference to, you simply have to occupy the space for a certain amount of time with no hope of success.
That's right.
And after 5 or 6 years, it's just, everybody's used to you being there.
That's right.
They don't
They
want
know
you
you.
not to be.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And,
Don't go
so
home.
Keep sending that video in every week.
Absolutely.
And you'll be fine. He's talking about a channel crossing in the red boat if he ever gets the prop right.
Oh, really?
And yeah, maybe we'll get John Hardy and them to do a welcoming reception in the White Cliffs of Dover or something.
Oh, yes.
You know, I mean, it could be a lot of fun. He's got some great promotional instincts. And Gabe, guess who sent us another great video from Rancho Cucamonga?
Well, I don't know, Jay. Who? Brian and Jack?
Jack Ricker and Brian Rico from Rancho Cucamonga. Bring it in, Jack. I want to know about this Samba Bus.
That's right. Let's take a look.
Hey guys, so turns out I tend to be doing a lot of BW shows these days. I'm here yet on another BW show. This is the Irwindale Speedway, and I guess it's called, I don't know, I forget what it's called, at the races, or I don't remember exactly the name of this, the name of the show, but we're here at the Irwindale Speedway. And so it turns out I'm not the only electric VW here. I found another VW electric bug that has a plate from EV West. I think there's something going on there. I talked to the guys and they say they're from the Discovery Channel. And they're shooting a show today and they're gonna be racing it down the 1/8 mile track that they have here at the Speedway. So let's go check it out. So what do you think it's gonna do?
I think an 8th mile, maybe mid to lower 8s.
Okay.
How's it going?
Welcome to Irwindale Raceway.
Yeah.
We're at Bug-In 2013, October 27th. Great day, great event. We got bugs all over the place. We even have an electric Volkswagen.
Electric Volkswagen. Dude, the two of them. Look, there's mine right there.
Yeah, we got two. We got a Type 1 and a Type 2.
And a Type 2.
The infamous JevQ Garcia is here.
Yeah.
He's the guy who has this company. I think it's called Jack 35.
Jack 35.
They make this uber excellent camera gear. And I see the guy walking around everywhere with an iPhone.
With a
Filming with an iPhone.
Here's the thing, yeah.
I mean, in a Volkswagen.
That's how it happens.
All right, here we go. This is gonna be the electric bus driving, going down the 8th mile.
The electric car that's inside is car coming out the wrong side. The electric car out. The electric car out there. I don't think the outside's gonna get
All right, man.
electric car what?
All right.
This thing is epic. Can you want to go and we'll switch? Jehu, you did such a good job, man.
Is it? Does this have all your components on it, or different?
Well, it's all the same.
So yeah, it's pretty much the same system.
It's a Volkswagen, but you put it on your shoulder.
Yeah, you'll have to slam that door a little bit harder because it's, it's a VW.
Dude, thanks so much. That was.
Put a turn signal.
I know when I was much soul.
All right, that was last week, and this week on my Samba, I finished installing the 240 volt service in my my garage here. I'm going to show you what I did rather than showing you when I was doing it, just because I'm not, you know, licensed in the state of California as an electrician. So I didn't want to show people doing something wrong and, you know, then have to get into trouble that way, you know. So I'd rather just show you. And as far as I'm concerned, this is all kind of temporary, because the Tesla charging standard, as far as I know, as far as I believe, it will become the standard. So all these EVSCs and all this equipment that's available to us right now will change. So it's temporary, and that's why I didn't want to spend money, you know, buying what's in the market right now. So I just kind of did chose the 240 volt plug, and I decided to go with that plug just here for my garage. And then I'll show you all the extensions that I made and all the little connectors that I will be making for being able to charge everywhere else, including I'm gonna have to figure out somehow how to plug into the EV charge stations that are available somewhere. Of course, most people charge at home, so I don't have to worry about that, you know, too much. Let me show you what I did here. Let me show you my panel. So here's my panel. It's an old, you know, 70s panel, like most houses here in California have. These are the two new breakers that I installed. And you have to get these big ones like this, because then those are attached to each side of the leg inside the bus bars inside the panel there. Here's my main 100 amp breaker, which I tripped already accidentally. So I know it works. And then here are the rest of them, and you know, this is originally what I was using, these 30 amp circuits for the dryer. So it's pretty simple. You just have to take that bolt out of there, and they just kind of plug in. You don't even have to screw them, and they just snap into the bus bars there. So you just have to do that. You just have to make sure you get the right ones, because there's some, like, a bunch of different kinds and stuff. Here's the panel, and here's my Samba, and this is the plug that I chose. So this is NEMA 1450R, and it's rated 125 250 volts AC, 50 amps. So this guy will do 50 amps. I know I have 60 amp breakers there, but you know, I don't think I'm actually pulling all 60 amps when I'm charging. Not yet, anyways. And then I made my charger, my cable. I made my own extension cord, because really what's out there is really expensive. You pay, you know, $100, $100+ for a 25-foot extension cord with like 10 gauge cables, and then you have to cut off the ends of the extension cord. So I thought, that's too much waste right there. So all I did was actually order the cable from eBay, just raw cable, and then I ordered this little braided sleeving that goes on these cables. It's a fraction of the cost of buying already made cables, and I just made my own. And on one side it's got this big 50 amp connector, right? This is going to plug into my wall there, and then the other side has an Anderson 50 amp connector, and that connector, and on the car I have the same Anderson 50 amp connector. So all I have to do is just plug one side here and the other one in the wall connector, which then you'll plug it in here. And then as soon as you plug it into the wall, you hear a little relay go off in the car. That's new relays that I put in there, and I'll explain to that what those are. But then the charger goes through a sequence. It gives you about 10 seconds for you to change the parameters in it, and if it doesn't, it just times out. And it says type 1 charging, and it tells you what kind of current. Oh, and then as soon as it starts, you hear another relay go off, and then it starts charging. And it pretty much tells you that it's charging. It tells you out the voltage and the amperage, and right now it ramps up. So it started about 10 amps, and now it's going 59 amps, 65 amps, 69 amps, 70 amps. So that's where it stays. I have it set actually higher to about 85 amps, but for some reason it's staying about 70 amps. I don't know why that is. It should be able to do more than that because it's 240 volts coming in, and it's only 120 volts coming out. So it's half the voltage. Should be able to pull more amps into the battery than it's pulling off the wall. It's still the same amount of energy that's coming into the charger. It's just different voltage, different amperage. But you should be able to be pulling about 14 kilowatts with the 60 amp breakers off the wall. And at 70 amps into the batteries, I think it's only actually it's only putting in like 8 or 9 kilowatts into the battery. So it's fast enough, but I have to figure out why it hasn't gone there. So let me talk a little bit about the new cluster of relays that I've installed here in my vehicle. These are 3 relays, and they're 12 volts each, ones that are triggered. And you can set, I bought those on eBay, they're like next to nothing, a few dollars. They have the ability you can set the sensitivity for high or low to be able to set them off. And that's a good thing because I actually needed that on this thing. So there's 3 relays. One of them is set to as soon as you connect the charger, and the charger is energized, a 12 volt system in the charger. That's the one that runs the Arduino and all this other stuff. Then as soon as that has power, then that triggers this first relay. And what that does then, that triggers a normally closed relay that is, I was going to actually put it on the throttle, but I found that to be easier to put it on the switch, the reverse or forward switch that the Curtis controller has on that system. And all it is just disconnects that. So basically, while the charger is connected and it's powered up, this car is not going anywhere. You cannot drive it. You cannot. You'll get on the system, power on and stuff, but the throttle will just not respond. It won't go forward and it won't go reverse. And the reason is because I've almost driven away a couple times with the charging cable still plugged in the car, and that's a bad idea. You know, that's you don't want to do that, especially with these big cables now that I'm using for this. So that's the first one. The second one is triggered by the charger's fan. There's a fan that only goes on when the charger is actually charging. So Valerie, the guy that makes these chargers, it's pretty clever. He installed a second winding on one of the inductors that the charger uses. He just ran another cable and did a second winding that would produce 12 volts, and then I think he rectified it, and then he just put a new little fan and 12 volt fan in the charger, and that only runs when the charger is going. There's no relays, there's no circuits that, to figure out how to turn it on. It's simple. It's simple. It works, starts when the charger starts charging. So I took the two leads there. It kind of messed things up for me because I thought I was going to be able to share the negative from the main system, the 12 volt system, to activate the first relay. I was going to be able to share the negative and just have two 12 volt signals to activate relays, but that didn't work out because it turns out this is a completely different source of 12 volts, and then I needed an extra cable, which I didn't have. The connector that I used to set these 3 relays here only had 9 conductors, and I needed 10. But it worked out because I set the relay to the low setting, and somehow it recognizes there's a signal there, even though it's not connected, the negative's not connected to it. So what it does is it turns on the cooling system. So that's what the second one does. Here's the third one. So I have 2 separate systems that need to power the cooling system, and that's the way I did it. So I just put 2 relays and just parallel the outputs, and so 2 different systems activate a different relay, but it does the same thing. It turns on the cooling system. That's what I installed here, and there's a little box there, and you can see it. I'll have to, kind of secure it in there. Other than that, this thing is running real nice. 8.5 kilowatts. My battery's charged in less than 3 hours. 2.5 hours or something, and it's done. I did a test yesterday where I ran the battery all the way down. All the way down to there was like 2.6 volts in each cell. It was like somewhere like 98, 96 volts in the pack. Then what I did, it was started charging. And my charger, he keeps track of how many amp hours it puts into the battery pack. The dashboard over there also keeps track, but it's not. I found that it stops at 180. If you tell it that it's a 180 amp hour pack, then it stops counting after 180, even if you were to put 190 amp hours. So I wanted to see exactly what the capacity of the battery was, so I can accurately put it in there. Well, it turns out it charged 180 amps into the pack. It's kind of weird because I got some other times where they put more in there. 193, I think I got the last time. But yesterday was 180, so completely empty to completely full 180. I just left it at 180. So now it's pretty accurate. And it shows me that most of the time this thing is burning about 400 watts per mile, which is not, not great, but it's a big car. So anyways, that's what I've been doing on the charging and in my car, setting up all some of these little systems that kind of make it, a whole lot easier and better to use and to live with an EV. Alright, so that's the update for this week. I hope you guys are all having a great time doing your own builds, and see you next.
Oh, man. Licensed electricians.
Yes, I want him to come work on my place.
That's right. His neighbors are moving.
Again, very politic.
Yes.
Did he ever mention the speed on the Bug?
No, we never did mention, and I've been to Irwindale quite a few times, and I used to work for the competing magazine, the Hot VWs, the VW Trends. So I was quite interested. I could not tell how fast the Bug was.
Showing the thing
the
running,
run,
but
and
we
then no
never
time.
Did get a time on that, Jack. What's going on?
I don't know. Brian was letting us down, man. Come on, give us the time, Mr. Race Guy.
But he's already again in the Army.
Yes.
Out there slaying the other guys. Just a couple of guys he lets drive the Samba.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they had the EV grin so hard. And Michael Bremer, he knows what one is. He shouldn't be grinning. He's just smiling ear to ear. Driving a 57 bus.
And around the parking lot in Irwindale.
Parking lot with no windows in it.
That's right.
You can't get over it,
And it looked a little foggy in the morning.
It did seem a little foggy. But,
that was pretty good.
Very artful video.
Yes. does a
Hey,
great job.
We love you, babe. Don't stiff me now. I need another one next week.
I know. Just keep those cards and letters coming,
Keep
man.
them cards and letters coming. Getting cards and letters from people I don't even know.
Really?
Like a rhinestone cowboy.
That's right. They just show up.
What else do we have?
We already kind of nailed the news. We did the beverage report. We talked about a lot of stuff. I got Anna and Jehu.
If only Carmen Miranda would show up with a banana hat.
Yes, exactly. Or Karman Ghia.
Karman Ghia. Let's have a look and see what her dancing looks like.
All right, so we introduced you last week to the Bigfoot pedal extension. We've got the pedal clamped in here, and we do want to show you driving this pin out to allow us to get this shaft out and this pedal off, and then we're going to put a new shaft in. The thing is, it doesn't drive out so damn easily. We've had to, well, first we bent the punch, so then we figured, you know what? Since we bent it, let's cut it off. It was about this long, and we were probably losing a little. We've clamped it down here, and it's starting to drive out. But I'm going to tell you that it's not just grab a hammer and a punch and drive the pin out that holds this, this pedal to the shaft. It's not that easy. So since Mike has been so good about sticking with this project and driving this pin out for me, I'm going to let him come in here and have all the glory as it goes out, or he can take all the blame if it doesn't. So Mike, see what you got. Show him how big a boy you are.
Yeah, buddy. Better go with this.
All right, so Mike's got the punch in. And this is what we've been at probably for about a half an hour. So any of you that do this, just make sure that you've got a way to clamp this down and a good heavy punch and a big hammer. You know what we say around here, if you can't achieve a precision fit with 3-pound sledge, that's, you just can't be done. So we probably got it now a little, maybe having to clamp it down again. We probably have it pretty far into the pedal where we're, may have to use, so we're saying about a quarter way through there, and that's not all of it. So we're going to try the longer punch, see if we don't bend this one, and if we can drive it out. But it's been an issue trying to get this out. We'll I think the rest of it can't be that difficult. So it's not budging for right now, huh?
Tighten up on this. I'm going to have to get another bite on this. Clamp it down a little bit.
All right, so we're going to clamp it down a little bit more. Hopefully we won't, we're also trying not to, this is kind of a U-shaped, this pedal, and we're trying not to crush it at all, because we've still got to reuse it, and we'll have to see what this pin looks like. And we may have to get another pin, but we're pushed out about a quarter away. That, as we showed you, that shaft is probably maybe 3/4 of an inch or so. So we've got a ways to drive it through.
down the end of my pump.
Okay, so it's moving a little, and you notice Mike has that smooth blacksmith kind of style there. Gives it the first little tap, and then gets a rebound, and then whacks it good. So pay attention. There's always style in some substance. Sounds like something's going on there. I hear a different tone. And you notice Mike is holding the punch with a set of pliers. There's a reason behind that madness. He says that he has taken a few in the finger before, and I guess you learn that as part of doing all this. So that's another cool little trick of the trade there that I wouldn't have known. I would have been in the emergency room already. And that is the pin that he punched out, and it's not tapered. It's just a tight fit. So see if you can pull that pedal off, Mike. Will that come off now?
I hope so.
Yeah. After all that, it should just kind of. There you go. And then that shaft should slide out too, I think, or else we might have to is there a pin or anything we got to take out?
Yeah,
There's a clip.
clip on there.
Okay, so we won't bore you with all of that. Oh, well, maybe not.
No, that's just holding that other assembly on.
Okay, so there's a clip holding on the brake pedal.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna.
Snap ring.
Okay.
Snap ring pliers.
Okay, so we've got some snap ring pliers. We'll go ahead and do that in the interim, but we just want to show you a couple of. It's described as just get a hammer and a punch, and knock this thing out, and that's not exactly true. It's get a hammer and a punch and a set of pliers and a sledgehammer and another punch, and it's always fun here at EVTV. But anyway, we just wanted to show you what we were doing this afternoon with the VW, and
6mm.
we'll just keep on going. Yeah, we got a metric pin too that we may just have to use again. So there you go. Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
All right, so we're still at it here. We've got our pin out, and our pin was pretty tight. We're not sure if it was drilled a little incorrectly here at the shaft, probably at the pedal though, that it got itself a little too tight. So this is the new shaft. You have the old one, Mike? The old shaft we took out? Should be laying over here. I don't know. Let's see. Because we ground it down a little bit. I'm just not finding it here.
It should be. It's on the other side.
There it is. Okay. So here's one thing that we wanted to show you before that we really couldn't put these side by side. Is you can see the difference in this. This hooks over the clutch cable, and it fits in here and then comes back in this direction. This one you actually bolt it on with a lock nut. And that's a lot better kind of solution. This is definitely updated. Everything is just beefier. So what we're just going to show you here, and then we'll drive this pin in. So the shaft came out from here. This is the part that goes against the vehicle. So the shaft comes in from this side. There is a stock spacer here that we'll go ahead and replace. Then they provide you this spacer because this shaft as well, and I'll go ahead and back this out so you can see it, that this shaft is quite a bit longer. And that's where you need that spacer to use that longer shaft. Sorry I didn't show you that. And we'll go ahead and put that spacer on there. And then we have to make sure that we orient this correctly because this is about the position that the clutch cable will be in. And we'll know that our pedal is going in the right place here. And I'm going to give this to Mike since he's had all of this fun. I'm going to give this back to him to see if we can drive the pin through. And I'll just stand here and, you're welcome, I'll just stand here and spectate and talk about all the wonderful things that we're doing here. So let me see if we can get it all in there. And there we go. And there's, all right, so Mike's got the punch now, we got this thing started, and we're just going to go ahead and drive this pin in. He's just going to check it, make sure we're going through. All right, well, it looks like we got it. Looks like we're as far as we can go. So at this point, what we got here then is the Bigfoot pedal. Wow, we're as far as we can go here.
Yep.
So we've got the Bigfoot pedal situation here. You can see this is attached. It's hard to tell, but we probably moved this about the distance of this spacer right here. What, about 3/4 of an inch, I think, Mike? Or,
Yeah, almost an inch.
19 mil, as Jamie would say, huh? And we're gonna go ahead and he's gonna give us a measurement here.
Almost an inch.
Yeah, almost an inch. So it moves it out here. So again, like we said, people using big clogs or things like that, or even what are they, Crocs? Couldn't imagine anybody around here wearing them, but you just couldn't get caught in here anymore, and you might be able to drive the car a little comfortably. So we'll show you the rest of this when it's in the vehicle.
Making electric boats isn't just making boats cleaner, it's making boats better. Being out in an electric boat means you can enjoy the environment you're in. You are so much more immersed in the sound and the experience of the aquatic life, of the water, of the wind, than you would otherwise be. And it really gives you a new level of understanding and enjoyment of that generally beautiful nature area you've gone into to enjoy yourself. What an electric motor does is that it gives you all this power in a vibrationless, soundless way. A well-thought-out, well-designed system has 100% of the torque available all the time. You don't have to build up to it, you have it. So when you pump the throttle, you are out there and your whole shot is amazing. It takes your center of gravity right out from under you, and it gives people that what they call the EV grin. You just start laughing, you can't help it. You're so conditioned to think that you first need vibration, then need noise, and then you start going somewhere. And in this case, your center of gravity just shoots right out from under you. And it's a wonderful feeling. You can still talk to each other. You're hearing the sound of the water and the wind and the waves instead of just hearing engine noise and vibrations. And it gives you really a chance to be in tune with that nature that you're actually out there to enjoy. Plus, not having to visit the pump is actually a great thing. Your battery will eat electricity from any source that you provide. I mean, who loves sitting around on your knees with a jerry can? We have better control over the boat. We have a better experience while we're out driving. Plus, we also have the knowledge that we're part of new technology. It is just way cool. Our mission is to make beautiful, fast, and fun electric boats. There's nothing more fun than taking these new technological developments and putting them into classic designs and having people shoot away with a big smile and an EV grin.
All right, so we've got the pedal assembly in. You can see too that Mike had a great idea. He said take off some of that aluminum since we weren't going to have the VW throttle pedal there anymore. So we kind of cleaned that up a bit. You can see from the one side the boot for the master cylinder. That Bigfoot thing gives you kind of like about an inch, maybe inch and a half by the time you do it. It's real nice. I think that's going to be fun and maybe a little bit different to get used to having the clutch pedal all the way out there. We ran the new clutch cable, the master cylinders in, bolted everything in using Nord locks, etc. We got the spring, the return spring for the brake pedal in. So we have pedals now for the thing and the master cylinder, so we can start to do the plumbing for the brake lines. do some other items, but we're going to be buttoning this thing up pretty quick, and we're going to take some more of the carpet out. We showed you the carpet kit, and just start moving ahead on this. So hope you enjoyed the Bigfoot pedal assembly. I think we're really going to like it. It's just going to be time will tell as far as where that position is, but it's kind of a cool upgrade from unique products out in California. What I did want to show you, and we talked about a little bit last week, that's why we did our talk inside, is we had done some under the car work and hadn't completed it all yet. But I did want to show you here that we have put on new bushings for the sway bar. They were hard and cracked, and in fact the straps that hold them on were quite rusted. You can see them there. They're the kind of the gold color. We have new ball joints. You can see those right here, uppers and lowers on both sides. We put new ball joints in, and you can see the tie rod ends over here. So we have replaced a lot of the steering. And earlier, when we first got the Ghia, we found that the steering wheel was fairly loose. We found that there was a bushing up at the steering wheel, right under the steering wheel itself, and the steering column at the top that was missing. Not missing, well, I guess it was missing. I guess it was worn out and kind of had disintegrated. So now we have the tie rod ends, ball joints. We have a new steering dampener. We have the sway bar mounts. So this front end is going to be fairly tight is what I'm hoping. The steering is real tight. We'll see how the box is. Mike installed all this and says that if we need to adjust that steering box, we can tighten that up. So what I'm hoping for is, again, to have no more than 140 pounds in the front end, which I think we're going to be able to do, which is really what this is with a full tank of, when it had a full tank of gas and a spare tire, about 150 pounds. So we're going to try to get that or a little less up here, and we think we can achieve that with our batteries in the midsection of the vehicle in the single box. But we did want to show you it's not too sexy. You can't see where we put new bushings in back behind the torsion arms, upper and lower torsion arms. We're going to have to grease this thing up a little bit, but just thought that it might be interesting to show you what the steering knuckle, the spindle cleaned up, new ball joints, tie rod ends, and bushings for the sway bar looks like. And we will keep moving on. Thanks. All right, so we're back at it here at EVTV, and we're using the Ghia as a backdrop because this is where all the fun stuff goes. You may see we've got some parts laid out here, so let me just run you through what we've got. I went this morning, picked up the battery box. Well, the battery box now, and a lot of you have seen this already, didn't have the cutouts. This is where the cables are going to be coming in and out of the box. You are all familiar with the box. But we had them add some tabs, and this is the rear of the box, and this is the front, which we facing toward the windshield. Put these tabs on it. What we're going to do is we've got that 2-inch box aluminum that we had showed you. We're going to drill some holes in those tabs. And then what we're going to do with that is then bolt that aluminum down to the body itself, and then we're going to bolt through through the aluminum, and so we'll have a nice solid foundation, metal on metal. This will be up a couple inches, so it'll be relatively level. I'm actually going to tilt it a little bit toward us, like kind of like a stage, so that we can see the batteries. If we have this level with that package tray under the rear window, then we'll probably be a little difficult to get to it, and we won't be able to see them as well. So we're just going to cant that a little bit off center, so it just slopes a little bit toward us. But the battery box, the next thing we're going to do with the battery box is the top. We just want to make sure that everything fits and that we're dealing with parts, because first we want to get it, make sure it fit, put the batteries in it, make sure they all fit and they fit really good. Now we've got our aluminum tabs welded to it. We've got our cutouts for our cables to come through in the rear and for the cutoff switch to go on the front of that. And we'll be working on that next, that aluminum enclosure for that. And now we can send off to get the top made for the battery box. And that will just compress on the cell booties a little bit. So we're going to have a real nice battery setup underneath this package tray, which is right here under the windshield. In the front of the car, we had showed you all the front end work that Mike had done, ball joints, tie rods. I just cleaned the spindles up, cleaned up the sway bar. We had to get new mounts for the sway bar. They were just old, you know, they're 40-year-old mounts and rubber. So that got kind of worn out. So Mike buttoned all that up yesterday. We showed that to you. Talked to you last week about the master cylinder and what we were going to do with this. And we have completed that project now. So this is screwed in. This is the brake sending unit for the light, also for pressure, a little warning light. This is the magic right here. This is the MEAS brake transducer, the 500-pound, and this is the 8th NPT. What Mike has done after he bolted that in, went ahead and bolted this in. The threads are, you know, between the quarter NPT and the, I believe that's a 10 millimeter. I don't know what the pitch was, maybe a 1.5. They're really, really close. And we put these in without trying to chase the threads because, you know, you get a little chip in the brake line and you've got a mess. We found, especially working with a brand new, you know, product here, everything's clean, that we put some JB weld as a thread locker and also as a seal, and that we will not have any leaks. We've had to put these in 3-4 different vehicles like this, and that seems to work out really well. So this will go into the vehicle here in a few minutes. We'll also be using the, well, actually we're going to be using Nord locks. I don't have the bolts here, but you can see we do have Nord locks. We're going to be doing the pedals after we do that. The pedal assembly, and we went through how this all goes together. So now the Bigfoot pedal is done. We also put the pedal covers on there. Anytime you can get things on before you install them, it's much better because otherwise it's just you're hanging out of the car, your head's at a weird angle, and we're going to have a little bit of that anyway when we bolt this in. So this bolts into the clutch cable, and we had talked about how this all fits and why we're kind of thrilled about the Unique Products clutch arm, is that this was the clutch cable that I had talked to you about. I don't know if we have the old one around here. Do we have the old shaft, Mike, anywhere? We may have it. Mike's going to come in here and look and see if we've got it. But as you can see, this is a much more efficient way to do this. It fits over a nice brass bushing. We've got a little washer and a nylock nut, and this is going to be a much better way to do this. And this it's actually round. It just is not going to wear out and be as weird as that other arm. And we showed you the arm, and it really just had a hook on it, and it hooked into this rather than bolts on. We were looking for it just to show you one more time, but I don't know. Oh, there we go. I can show you on the old pedals anyway there, so you can kind of get an idea. This just hooks in like this, and that's it. And it just is not very efficient. You got to love the design, but not very efficient. So I'm really thrilled that we have this Unique Products, and they do make it if you don't want the Bigfoot, where you have this, where you have the pedals that are slightly, your clutch is slightly removed, pushed about 3/4 or almost an inch away from your brake pedal. They do make a standard one, but it's kind of cool. That difference here in, you know, maybe you're looking at this pedal, the beginning of it being over here. You know, people have bigger shoes, you know, bigger guys, you know, need a little bit more room there just to maneuver. Might be wearing some yellow clogs or something someday, one of the drivers. The plunger here we talked about, this goes on. There's a C-clip that goes on top of that. And then that we talked to you about the spring. The spring then holds it on, and this spring goes under the floor. We may cut this off. This is where the gas pedal went, and it's just kind of big and ugly. We're going to go ahead and fit it in the car, make sure there's absolutely no reason for it anywhere, and we may just trim this off and kind of clean it up a little bit so that we don't have this big ugly thing to deal with, because we have nice modified pedals, and why would we want to deal with this? So what we're going to do now is install the clutch cable. The transmission is actually on its way from Rancho. They have completed it. We've got a new wing nut for the clutch adjuster. Let's see, we've got the boot for the clutch cable guide here. We have cleaned up our bolts. We have Nord locks for both the master cylinder and the brake pedal. And I'm just going to put these on here because I have a tendency to lose washers and nuts if I don't put them back on at least something that's threaded so that I can find them. But we did get something else interesting today, and let me just put this here. Something that came from some old friends of ours in Denver, believe it or not. And the carpet kit for the Ghia. And we got a little bit deeper color. Hopefully you can see this here, and it shows you, but this is actually the one that would go for the shifter and the right down the center of the tunnel on the, probably looks like to me on the driver's side. It'll come down a little bit. So this has already got the piping threaded on, sewn on it. It's got the holes cut. It's, I think, what did they say, a 20-piece kit or something. So that should cover our 22 pieces. That is, we'll lay it out and kind of look at it. I kind of like the color. It's a little darker. It was a light, fairly light. They had some black mixed in there. It was just kind of kooky. I think this will go good. First of all, it'll just hide a little bit of shop stuff just in case we get it a little dirty. It should clean up better. But the other thing is, I think it'll just bring some real depth to the interior. We'll really set off the lighter colored seats and the door panels. SoFine is the company that makes this. SoFine has been making, VW carpet kits, tops, boots, interiors for years. They really started in Denver as doing the ultra high-end show cars. They have a lot of experience. Again, I said 28 years. If you need a carpet kit, you can go to most of the places that you find them. We get a lot of our parts through Karman Ghia Parts and Restorations, but they carry SoFine. But I was really pleased to see that it was one of their kits. It'll fit, it'll be complete, and there won't be any issues with it. This is not going to go in for a little while, but we have it because one of the things that we're going to do is take the rest of the carpet out on the package shelf as well as behind the seat, because we're going to bolt this down to metal, not to carpet. And we'll probably have to do a little bit of modification to this, and I'll see if I can get, after we mark it, I'll see if I can take that rear piece under the window to a local upholstery shop and let them just sew some piping on it so it doesn't look like as Jack likes to say, a bunch of ass clowns did it. So we do know how to do ass clown stuff, and it's fun, but don't have to all the time. So that is really what we're going to do. So next we are going to put in the clutch cable, bolt in the master cylinder, and bolt the pedals in, and we'll show you what that looks like. Stay with us. Oh, that's a beautiful dance. It's starting to move fast, and Mike had done some really nice work on the front end. I just couldn't only narrate. It was so beautiful. It was like doing a flyover for IMAX, of the front end. It's just
aerial America.
That's right. Yeah, just
aerial garage.
That's right. Aerial garage, aerial ball joints. I didn't know what else to do.
The United States of Bacon Ghia.
There you go. That's right. Hey, it brings people to basketball games apparently.
There you go.
That's right. Just pieces of bacon.
You just keep chipping away at it, man.
Yeah, so that's done. We kind of teased you last week with our newsroom view, if you watch the video, of the Bigfoot pedals. So we've now have moved that pedal over. It may be different to find the pedal, but I think it looks comfortable to have that pedal out there a little bit.
I think I can see putting a crock on that.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah, because that was we have had a couple of yellow Crocs dislodged, the foot dislodged from a yellow Croc in a pedal assembly before.
I've got like 16 pairs. I'll loan you some so you can place them.
That's right.
And then have a customized foot pedal.
Yes, exactly.
Very cool.
But unique parts, Don got us all covered up like that. The pedals are in, the master cylinder is in, it has our brake transducer, so we are going to start buttoning up the braking system next. Then we'll go to the rear. Once the car is on the ground and we can roll around and get it on a lift, it's going to start to move fairly El Rapido. So I'm getting excited. We're building the car now, not taking it apart.
I've been, of course, involved in the JevQ thing this
week. Yes.
Not much to show, not very good video.
But he has done a lot of work. It just hasn't been fruitful.
Or
has it?
It has.
Good.
It's 2 steps forward and about a step back.
Okay.
Jeff is chasing down enclosures.
Yes. Yes, I think we've got some.
I would rate to him that pretty is like godly.
Yes.
And so, hopefully pretty. I did a diagram, and we are having that estimated to actually provide a cable assembly like HP EVS with the amp seal 23 for the DMOC, the amp seal 35 for the JevQ, a little DB9 for the serial port on the DMOC, and then like 6 foot with completely different color stripe wires and tags on the end of them.
Oh, cool.
So you'll know what everything is. JevQ4 complicates it somewhat in that we've replaced some of the 12 volt outputs with an additional 4 MOSFET outputs. The MOSFET output is basically, we use a digital output to turn on a MOSFET that'll do, I think it surges 7 amps and it'll do 2.7 amps continuously. Kind of a switched or active low, they call it.
All right.
So you put a 12 volts out there, and then this will switch it low, which you can use to be either way for whatever it is you're trying to enable.
Cool.
But ostensibly to provide the ground to it for up to 2.7 amps. So this will do a big contactor, gigavac, or kilowatt.
Oh, really? Okay.
Not just a little relay.
Just a little relay, okay.
It's not going to run pumps and fans and stuff, but any kind of relay to switch something work fine. And so we're going to have this cable assembly done. I've kind of architecturally worked out. There's a wireless module in there. It's very frustrating.
Yes, I know that's
right
what.
now.
Yeah.
Mostly because all their software and stuff is on Windows. I've got to get a Windows machine up with a thing to reflash the firmware and so forth. But I'm seeing kind of an outcome here that's very exciting. You know, I did a Macintosh program a couple of years ago, kind of a little, it would display kilowatts and amps and current and amp hours and range and speed and direction. And
pretty cool.
So on and so forth. I'm going to do one of those for iPad.
All right.
And I think with this wireless module, I've worked out how to pass data between them wirelessly.
Nice.
And access some things. Kind of an interface for JevQ and maybe a separate device to do the EVTV style BMS function, count amp hours, measure voltages and temperatures without trying to burn up any cars or destroy cells. And I think I can pull all that together. And I was talking to Rain a little earlier about doing basically a Momo steering wheel they've got these universal adapters and so forth.
Yeah, you put on
But
different
a
cars,
mobile
sure.
steering wheel with a base for an iPad to sit it in your steering wheel, where you'll have this whole steering wheel that just goes on to, a mobile adapter with an iPad tablet, instead of trying to find a place for it in the dash. And so, a steering wheel, a display steering wheel.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, display steering wheel.
So
Nice.
we're doing some neat things conceptually with the JevQ that go quite beyond, and I think that's going to be very interesting. We've had some other pushes along the way. Reinhardt, we had provided them a motor some time ago.
Yes, it was a while
They've
ago.
been very busy. They've got a limited staff. Mostly have been selling into the racing community.
Okay, yeah.
And so I've been kind of trying to prevail on them to go into the DIY community. Actually, Chris Brune and those Brune, he's been an EV guy for 20 years.
Oh, yes, that's what it said, yeah.
But he got in the Everdull forums,
Yes,
the
yes.
ones I've complained about, Everdull, DIY electric. So has been very leery of them.
Sure.
Now that we're
Yeah.
kind of civilizing it as a custom car builder thing, they're a little more interested. He loves the JevQ idea and wants to help.
Oh, cool. Good
which
deal.
We need to do a module for their thing.
Right.
He's got their PM100 DXR working with the Siemens motor quite capably.
Cool.
He thinks that's the correct one for it. I told him I wanted to be a dealer for the 100 and the 150, and that we would certainly pass that along to our viewers who are all going to want the 150.
That's right, you're going to want the 150.
Even if it doesn't do anymore, it's just
It's got to be better.
the way it's got a higher number. It must
Yeah,
be
it
better.
must be better. That's right.
But we've got a pretty good match with the 100, and we will be carrying it.
Good.
So
Cool.
You'll have your choice of the DMOC or the Reinhardt at some point. We have to do the object module for the Reinhardt. For the JevQ, whole different world.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I'm logging tons of CAN bus traffic using a Cavaser 1000, not the Leaf Light, on the eTransit Connect. And me and Colin are pouring through this with microscopes trying to figure out the message IDs.
Right.
What's the DMOC? What's the VC? What's the this, that, and the other? In a cloud of air conditioner and battery management system messages. The Reinhardt, they publish a document.
Oh, man. Cool.
The RMS CAN bus protocol.
You can use it, you mean?
Yeah, a little different deal.
That's right. It's not a secret.
And he even implied they could be enlisted to help a bit in the coding if we need to. Because you remember they tried to talk us into that.
Into a
3 years
controller,
ago.
yeah,
And
we're
I'm
doing
like,
the Mini.
So what CAN bus controller do you recommend? Well, we don't really know.
No, I
That's
know.
what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Well, he's got other customers in the same boat.
Oh, okay. That need a CAN bus controller.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is going to be open source hardware and software, and so I think they'll be a little motivated to help us with the
I think so.
thing. It's almost embarrassing when they see how trivial it is. Architecturally, we've got it down to a pretty small thing.
It is.
To plug in a inverter. Inevitably, they're going to have some features and things, that
Sure.
we have to sort of modify the whole gig to account for, but I think it'll work very well. So I'm pretty excited about that. It'll give us a smaller package. It's going to be more expensive, of course.
Yeah.
It's not even the PM100 is not as powerful as the DMOC.
Right.
But it's a much smaller box, and it's not an orphan. You get a warranty and product support and repair.
Right.
I mean, so that's the DMOC is a true orphan. You got us, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I've been doing this week. I am kind of getting a little fascinated, sort of sidewalled into the solar, but not really mainstream solar gadgets, inverters. These flexi panels.
Yes.
Even I found an outboard motor that runs on 48 volts. All kind of around our 48 volt battery module thing.
Yes.
I'm going to do Mark III this week. I've got some ideas for improvement again on a third 48 volt module. But I think these modules will be good for boating, camping, tailgating, stuff that's really related to electric vehicles, but it's not a mainline car thing.
Right.
And, emergency power or party power in the woods or on the lake, or, just a simple way to electrify a ordinary John boat or something.
Do we have any video?
And spend $20,000 or $30,000 doing that.
Exactly. Do we have any video?
Got some of me stumbling around in the back.
That's they got to see some of that.
It's about AC, DC, and wee.
That's right.
Let's take a look.
Okay.
Let's talk about inverters a little bit. I know most of you are used to me talking about an inverter as a device to convert our battery pack voltage in a car into three-phase power to drive an AC induction or perhaps a brushless DC permanent magnet motor that uses three phases of AC 120 degrees out of phase to turn a motor. There's a world of other inverters that you'll become aware of if you're not already, and that has to do with again, the conversion of DC to AC, but typically for home power. Particularly, and this comes up with solar power. We're having 5 inverters installed with our 4.4 kilowatt array in the other room. This one I've had up here for some time. It is an Aurora PVI 5,000 watt inverter. And it has quite a bit I like about it. The biggest one is that solar power inverters such that at this scale will do relatively high voltages commensurate with what you would have on your roof. This particular one has quite a wide range, which is why I bought it. It will operate at full power from 150 volts DC to 530 volts DC, which is quite a range. Actually, it'll operate from 90 volts DC to 530 volts DC. It need to be up about 150 volts DC to get full power out of it, 5 kilowatts. This is the AC output of it. I actually have a little plug here that I've got a charger plugged into right now. But if I will connect a battery of 150 or greater volts to these two leads and plug this into this connector, it goes over to a circuit breaker into my main panel. It's kind of interesting. If I turn this knob where it's straight out, this will provide 240 volts AC through this connector and a 240 volt circuit breaker into the rest of the panel. And from there it can go out to the rest of this part of the shop and provide AC voltage up to about 35 amps, which is quite a bit for the shop here, which is mostly lighting. And so that's what I like about it, is it has a very wide voltage input range. Here's what I don't like about it. It complies with UL 1741 or 1761 or 17 something one. which prevents it from putting power out onto the grid in the case of a power outage and damaging employees of Ameren UE. I'm somewhat less concerned about their safety, but actually I don't get any of that. Every solar or generator installation I've put in, we've used a automatic service disconnect that was held. It's a relay, an AC relay, that passes AC from the grid to your system, and it's energized by the grid power. If you lose grid power, it de-energizes and connects to your generator or solar system. So there's no possibility of your generator or solar system ever connecting to the grid. If the grid power comes back up, it automatically closes that relay, connecting your facility back to the grid. The generator can be generating, the solar can be generating solar power, but it can't contact with the grid because this relay has to be in one position or the other. Can't be at two at the same time. So I don't understand why they did this. I wind up with an inverter that only makes power when I have power. Now, if I have power, what do I need an inverter for? But that's what they're doing with these solar installations today, is having them grid intertie to where they provide power during the sunny periods and get it from the grid when it's dark. And they typically have no UPS or uninterruptible power supply capability at all. So about all this is good for me is to take a vehicle that I want to drain the battery pack, and instead of driving around in circles all afternoon, I can back it in, rig me up a connection to this, turn this on, and it will drain the pack and use the power usefully to light our facility and run our lifts and fans and so forth. And so the power is not lost, and I can rather easily drain a full automobile of its vital juices, which might be in order in the event where I wanted to bottom balance it or replace a cell or just for testing purposes. So it's been useful, but not very. If we actually lose power, I don't get any power out of this because it has nothing to sync to. We're dabbling with something else these days, our small battery modules and photovoltaic panels and so forth. And I've got a device that may offer a little solution. If I had a true uninterruptible power supply to put out a waveform into the box, then this would have something to lock onto. Let's take a look at what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is one of our modules. Actually, we have several of them. Here's our Mark 1. Here's our Mark 2. About to start the Mark 3 version of our 48 volt module. And this one's reading 53.4 volts. When I press the magic button, I have here a Rigol oscilloscope, a DS1102E. I really like this thing. The kind of oscilloscopes I know how to read, they haven't made in about 20 years. But this one is extremely easy to use and easy for me to work out, you know, the time base, the voltages, and so forth. This is a MagnaSine inverter, and it's designed actually to be used off-grid. I have it connected to the batteries with some cables using these Tweco welding cable connectors, so I can easily connect them and disconnect them. This is actually an inverter charger and battery backup supply. Right now I've got it wired up. It works, and one of the things I like about this is it's ambidextrous. It's equally adroit with 120 volts or with 240, either in or out or from battery. Right now I've got 240 volts going into it, and that's all pretty cool because it simply passes that voltage through and out to our loads, which I've got a fan over behind the camera, light over here. And I'm actually running the oscilloscope off of it, and there's a reason for that. I want you to see the switching there. So right now we're running off of our house power, 240 volts AC. And this is our waveform, which is showing 16.4 volts maximum peak voltage. We have a 10-to-1 probe, so that's 164 volts. And 164 volts times 0.707 is about 118 or 119 volts. RMS, root mean square. So when you say in your house you have 120 volts or 240 volts, that's a root mean square value. And the peak value is somewhat higher. You can take root mean square and multiply it by 1.414 to get peak volts. And you can take peak volts times 0.707 and get back. And also, on our time division, at 5 milliseconds per division, I've got a little under 17 milliseconds. As it turns out, there's 16.66 milliseconds in a 60 hertz waveform. And this one will actually do that conversion and put it up on screen for me. It'll do it either way, but right now I've got it showing frequency, and I'm at 60.1 hertz. And I'm measuring one of our phases of the 240 volt input. And so all's right with the world. If my battery is below 51 volts, this is also a charger. And it charges in a very interesting fashion. First, it's fairly capable. It will charge at 60 amps off of 240, which we have a 60 amp hour pack here, and that would charge it in less than an hour. Second, it charges to some magic voltages. Unlike our experience with a golf cart, this one is 58.6 volts, which is almost exactly 3.65 times 16 cells. And so it's near enough a perfect voltage. And then it floats it at about 53 volts, which works out to 3.35 volts. And it'll do that for a couple of hours. After which it goes into a kind of a monitor mode, and it will only come back on if they drift down below about 48 volts. Lithium-ion cells, unless we're using them to provide power, aren't going to do that anyway. So it will charge our battery quite automatically, and it charges to some voltages that I can live with very easily with 16 cells, even though most of it's designed for lead acid or gel cells, AGM absorbed glass mat cells. It works very well with our lithium battery pack because of the size of the pack. Now, if I'd made that 12 cells for 48 volts, this wouldn't work out at all. But by going to 16, it works perfectly with this charger, and then it powers this as an inverter. This inverter, unlike the Aurora, is limited to a lower voltage of 36 volts and an upper voltage of 67. And if it's not within that range, it will cut it off. We don't have any cars that run on 36 volts or 48 volts, except our golf cart. And therein lies the tale. We'll get to later. In the meantime, this particular model is a 48 volt model, 36 to 67 volts. It will put out 4,400 watts of power out of that battery pack. In fact, it'll put out 8,000 watts for 5 seconds. It'll do 4,800 watts for 30 minutes and 6,000 watts for some period in between before it overheats. it'll do 4,400 purportedly all day. And so it's in a fairly small size. It's kind of heavy. It actually has a transformer, full isolation in it. It's a little bit, I would guess, an older technology in some ways. It's designed for boats and RVs and camping and off-grid applications. You can't take the output of this and put it in the input like an Aurora. It will not phase lock its AC output, and in fact, you'll probably destroy this if you try. However, if we went outside, mainly shut ourselves off from the grid, hooked this up to, as with a 240 volt output, to our box, and got it running off our 48 volt cell, our 48 volt pack may not run down very quickly, because I could also then bring in a car and hook it up to the Aurora, and it has something to phase lock to, and it would produce power. And so we can do that as long as we don't apply grid again with this one putting out power. So it's kind of a manual system and workaround. But if you're snowed in and haven't had electrical power for 2 or 3 days, what are you doing with your time anyway? It's okay to fool around with this sort of thing. So this is kind of portable. I see it. I actually see us converting the golf cart into having 2 of these in parallel, of course, to drive the cart. With this on the back, since I don't play golf, I won't need my clubs. We'll make up some things. Oh, this is a little 3-way output to power 120 volt loads. We actually carry these in the store. I like them so well. It's called the Connecticut Electric. It's a little box, and I'll make up a harness. I need some 10-4 to have you a 240 volt output too. And you can use these at the same time. Here's a wiring block, and you can hook up your 120 volt output and your 240 volt output, and you can actually run things that way. Let's see if I remember to start this thing. When you plug it in, you have to push this button on the front to turn it on. Sometimes I remember to do that, sometimes not. I'm going to disconnect my power, and here we still have a waveform. In fact, you can't notice it switch over. It does so in less than 16 milliseconds, which coincidentally is about 1 waveform. And so even if you have a computer hooked up to this thing, when you lose power, it picks up off the battery with a little transfer relay inside there very adroitly. And so now I'm down to 52.9. I'm got a current meter on here. I'm drawing about 4.5 amps out of my pack, making my voltage. As you can see now, I have 17.4, so I'm probably about 125 volts there. And again, I'm just right at 60 hertz. Not quite as clean a looking a waveform. They call it a true sine wave because it's not a step square wave. But it's, it's got a few jaggies in it, a little more than our wall power did, which was remarkably clean, I thought. But this will work fine for computers, motors, whatever. Let me turn on a fan load over here. I'm powering this light, the oscilloscope. Let me turn the fan on low and then on high, and it really doesn't even move the waveform. That's going to give us some noise. I'm up to 9.2 amps here at 120 volts, which is hardly 1,200 watts, to do a fan, a light, and the oscilloscope. As I say, it'll do surges up to 8,000 watts and continuously at 4,400 watts. You could actually run an air conditioning system. Start up a 3-ton air conditioner and run it with this inverter. And it would certainly do a refrigerator, a few lights, your big screen TV, and run the blower and interlocks on your gas furnace. And so this would make a nice little unit, 60 amp hours. If you were doing 5,000 watts, it's not going to do it. This thing only holds about 3,300 watts. If I had two of them, about 6,000. So you're talking an hour of electrical power from this with no generator or anything. But that's a pretty good backup system. I see it more as a system like we could put one of these on a boat, run the trolling motor or the outboard motor off of it, drive the boat around, but also have AC power on the pontoon boat for the big screen or your computer or whatever, as well as I've actually got some devices we're going to build into the Mark III model inside, 48 volt to 12 volt, to do a little 10 amp output at 12 volts for your boat circuits and so forth. So I see these as kind of components of a portable nature, or for use in boating and camping and so forth, that with battery packs, inverters, and in fact we should have solar panels here pretty soon that will, they're being shipped today, I think, that should be here to allow that sort of thing. So I've been taking a look at some of these. We're going to have this in the store. I think it's about $2,300, 5,000 watts. It does 120 or 240. As I said, 36 to 67 volt input, and pretty rugged. It has a plate that goes over this that I have exposed. This is how you wire it up, but there's a little white plate that you put over here. There is a thermal pickup for the battery that it'll quit charging or quit using it if it overheats. I don't think that's going to be too much of a problem, actually. And again, it automatically charges. I haven't really figured out how to put in a solar input on this. Many of our power supplies have rectifiers as the first step, and so we can just hook DC up into them. This one actually has a transformer, and so I'm not too sure we can hook solar directly into it. But we'll probably bring the solar in through a small charger that will let us do that, and that'll let us set the charge value. This one's fixed again at about 56 volts to charge our pack. And so we're playing a little bit with some of these sort of smaller components, not directly car related, but I think that are going to be good auxiliaries to work with your electric vehicle. We're going to start doing some of that. Eventually, this works towards a solar battery fast charge system for DIY vehicles, what we're coming to call custom electric vehicles. We'd like to get that to work with the Tesla supercharger with CHAdeMO, but whether we do or not, I think it's quite feasible to develop a fast charge function for custom cars, and we're probably going to work toward that over the next year, and talk a little bit more about solar as we add it to the roof and enable you with the flexible lightweight panels to do other creative things with them. And so I thought you might want to take a quick look at a new product we're adding, a small but I think powerful and flexible inverter that you can use a number of different ways. Ultimately, just for grins, I'm probably going to build all this into the golf car and make it a drivable power center that I can back up to the house and put power to the house, or position it here in the shop and put it on any box here in the shop, and get electricity in kind of emergency fashion. That's also portable. It's actually drivable off the battery packs. And I can drive it. I can charge it through this thing by plugging it into electricity, or where I don't have it, I can actually plug it in and provide it. And so I think that'll be a neat little emergency power cart. And since I've kind of given up golf for Lent several years ago and not taken it up since, that's what we'll use the golf cart for. Stay with us. It just gets better. Can you believe somebody spends their days that way?
We have been doing something. At least you can prove it. He's been busy. That's right.
Did you see my new oscilloscope?
I did. Pretty cool.
It's,
Yeah, I was surprised you came back so
cool.
quick. Say, yeah, I'm all set up.
Yeah, I gotta go. And so, yeah, the little magnesign lets you very capably charge a 48-volt pack.
Yeah,
And
that's
I was
a cool
surprised
product.
at how compatible the voltages were with where I was going with the 16
I know.
cells.
I know.
And so, and then, but you can do 120, 240, whatever you need.
Yeah, I like it. No, that's a cool little product.
It's very flexible, very portable. It's heavy.
Yeah.
I think 30 or 40
Yeah.
pounds, but it's not big. And so you can do a lot of things with that. It's not going to be a mainstream car building thing. It's sort of related.
Exactly. Yeah, kind of pulling all these pieces together.
Think
Yes.
a little trailer,
Yeah.
you know, or a boat.
Yep.
Or a boat dock.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
you got a place
Pull
on
up
the
to it.
lake, you can put some solar panels, you know, over the top and a battery module. Nobody's going to steal it. It's 101 pounds.
That's right. Yeah, and there's no lead in it to recycle.
There's no lead in it to recycle.
It's safe.
And so, I mean, you could have lights and power and everything on your boat dock down at the lake without running along.
Right.
And charge your boat.
Yep. Yeah, that's really an interesting concept.
So there's a
Yep.
lot of little things to play with there. So that's what I was out doing. This week, somebody sent us a couple of T-shirts.
They did.
I haven't worn a T-shirt since 1969. And here's one. Look at this shirt. Does this make my ass look big?
No, honey, it doesn't.
That's what she always says to me. I will confess, one of our viewers, and he's not adequately identified himself,
No.
sent us these shirts. It says, "Built Fode Tough," F-O-A-D. Would you believe we spent a week asking each other various things that Fode could stand
Yeah,
for?
that's right. What would this acronym be?
What is Fode?
What's a phone, man? I will talk about it again tomorrow.
We did an editorial. It's not been that long.
No, it was like
ago,
June,
5 or
I
6
think.
weeks or something.
Or even after that. That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where Fode came up. We coined the term. We just didn't recognize it on the T-shirt. I'm not going to repeat it. Go back and find the prior.
That's right.
Blog
Look in the
entry.
blogs.
And, but we actually wandered around for 2 or 3 days wondering what it stood for.
We kept bumping
I've
into
seen
each
it
other.
somewhere. But I just don't know what
It must mean something.
Built Fode Tough. Like a Ford.
Like a Ford, yeah.
But Fode. Let's
Sorry.
get out of here. We'll be back next week.
All right.
Stay with me. I'll close with
Let's hear the Utes. Stay tuned.
What do you think?